Zach Reynolds alongside Luke Hamilton and Oilers head coach Rob Murray for this week's virtual coaches show. A little bit different week this last week as the team didn't play any games. Get back going in the saddle tomorrow against Wichita, but you've had some time off. You talked about it in the last interview that typically if you had this much time off, you'd send the guys off, get a little bit of family time for them, a little bit of fun time. Wasn't able to be done this year with the protocol, but still with those days off, did you get your chance to maybe recharge a little bit? And do you think some of the guys are in that same boat if you did?
I think so, Zach. I mean, it's we've talked about it. It's just a glitch in the scheduling, really. I mean, it doesn't seem to be possible that with the load of games that we have left in the season that we had 10 days off, but it is what it is. And the guys got out, I think it was last Thursday, went out, got a golf, like a kind of a golfing tournament in, and we weren't able to really do much yet. Practices weren't lengthy. I mean, because we had so much time, it was easy to kind of break them down where, we weren't out there for an hour and a half working on stuff. It was, we're still keeping to our same schedule and regimen of, 45 to an hour really. But we accomplished a lot. We touched up on some system play, worked on power play yesterday and today. I don't know that we missed anything really. We had lots of time to work on stuff and try to tinker with a few things, trying to see what, just kind of thinking outside the box and trying a couple of new things that maybe might be effective in our game.
And kind of getting a chance to decompress and you kind of look at this, week as similar to an all-star break. And usually that's a benchmark for a lot of teams. And when you had a chance to just kind of evaluate, what you've seen from this group so far, from opening night, puck drop, and what are some things that stick out, that you guys have been able to build off of all season long and can continue to use as a strength? And then what are some things that, using this week as a benchmark, you guys feel like you need to really get on the saddle for coming into this next week of games?
Well, I think we've been consistently a hardworking team. I think that's probably one of the things that I haven't had issue with. Our execution as far as offensively has been an issue all year. We're not a prolific scoring team, yet we play a very strong defensive game. So, that being said, if we can pick up our scoring, and I'm not talking 7-8 goals a night. I'm if we can get to the 3-4 goal threshold, we'd be in a lot better shape. I think to the consistency from throughout the first part of the season, where I can see where we got to get a little bit more of a killer instinct. The Rapid City series comes to mind, where we win Friday and Saturday or whatever days it was, the first two games, really, I don't want to say handily, but I mean, we outplay them, and then we kind of just sit back on the third game and hand them points that potentially that team didn't deserve. And I think we're too lenient that way. We got to get more of a killer instinct and kind of step on them while they're down thought process. So going forward, we had a video meeting after practice today, and I addressed the team where we're at a stage now coming off this 10-game break, and we have no non-divisional games left on our schedule. We have to get into a playoff mindset right now. I know there's lots of season yet to go, but we can't wait for another month and then decide, oh, we got to pick it up. It's got to be now. I mean, you're looking at 4 games against Wichita this week. We got 2 against Allen next week, and then 4 against Utah the following week. Like the urgency has to be now, and that's the way we have to approach it. Let's hope we can get that done and perform at that level every night.
You mentioned keeping the practices pretty similar here over the last week. For fans, obviously not being able to come in and watch practices this year, what is an average practice like for you guys? How do you start? How do you finish? And what are the kind of maybe benchmarks throughout the day that you like to hit?
Well, we progress through practice, regardless of what the drills are. there's different drills every day, but for me, my practices generally consist of getting the goalies warmed up, shooting drills that progress into a 2-on-1, potentially a 2-on-2. We mix in 3-on-2s. There tends to be, especially on practice days that are away from the next game, we'll touch on system play, whether it be breakouts, neutral zone, even just forechecking and stuff like that. So the progression of the day kind of goes from simplistic drills, I guess you want to call them, to, as we get along, it gets a little bit more thought process through the drills as the practice goes along. We usually end up, we did a lot of skating, a lot of conditioning this last 10 days, just to make sure that we're maintaining that. And then, but a lot of times I rely on the pace of practice and the compete level in the drills that we have, that, at the end of the game, at the end of practice, we don't necessarily have to skate, like down and backs and suicides and stuff like that. Now we do that on occasion, but a lot of times I feel that we get enough out of practice that we don't need to do that. And, we mix in 3-on-3 play, just getting ready for overtimes. And then we do shootouts quite a bit too at the end of practice. So, you try to keep it light. You try to keep it where you don't lose the guys. And this is where I try to keep it to 45 minutes to maybe an hour at the most, where I knew as a player, once you pass a certain threshold, you just kind of went through the motions. And, that's why I like to have my practices up tempo and short.
Yeah, sort of to build off of like keeping it light, keeping the guys focused. Whenever you talk about your team, of course, trying to find a way to execute more offensively, get that part of your game back. Some of these guys, they can be gripping the stick a little too tight sometimes. You think about that a little bit too much. And, keeping a practice light, keeping those guys, like you talked about, having fun a little bit with the game, does that help, guys be a little bit more loose? Maybe helps their snapshot, their wrist shot coming down in practice, and maybe they can translate that to the game. I know really just in any sport, the more these guys are having fun, I'm sure the more loose they'll be, and maybe the more they can execute.
Well, I mean, the saying goes, that you basically, what you do in practice is it should roll over into the game. I can tell you, we score goals like crazy in practice. I mean, it's amazing how much more we do in practice. Now, getting back to what you said about squeezing the stick, being nervous, blah, blah, blah. There is no pressure in practice. I mean, you could mess up. You could, there's situations where you've got that leniency in practice where it doesn't matter. Right. And you can see that where the guys are a little bit more, I wouldn't say focused, but more, it's easier in practice to execute, to score. And this isn't saying our goaltenders aren't good. It's just, we score a lot of goals in practice. So you would hope that it carries over into the game, and, a little bit of little confidence in the games will go a long, long way also. And that comes from having success. You have success in a game. I mean, let's use a guy like, Danny Moynihan. Like, Danny is having a good season, and he feels good about himself. He's got confidence on the ice. Matt Lane, he's struggling. He's trying his best, yet it's not happening for him. So you can see the contradiction in the two with the way they play. Like, Danny you can see him. He's loose out there. He's trying things. He's got a lot more confidence in his game. And then other guys tend to wait for something good to happen. And I'm sure everybody, I'm not saying guys aren't trying. I'm just saying that it's not happening for some guys, and that builds on you. It's in your psyche, and you worry about it to a point where, yeah, you freewheeling in practice, but then once the game starts, you kind of revert back to what you're feeling. So we need these guys. We need everybody, not just the Moynahans and Sampairs, these guys that have been contributing for us, to have the confidence in a game and have something good happen early in a game, especially, and you really get your legs underneath you and you get going.
And kind of sticking in the vein of practice, you guys have been at the Oilers Ice Center opposed to the BOK Center. And in a normal year, you're there quite a bit, but this year, it's been all the BOK Center up until recently. And the smaller ice surface out there at the Oilers Ice Center, do you think that it kind of forces guys maybe to make decisions a little quicker because someone's on them right on top, because there's not as much space out there? And is there maybe something you can see different things developing in a player on that smaller ice surface, the small battles, in front of the net, through the corners, that you wouldn't see maybe particularly at the BOK?
Well, I agree, Zach. It is a smaller ice surface, and things happen quicker. And I for that reason, actually, I don't mind being here because of that. And I've found in my years here that, especially the power play, working on the power play, where you don't have as much room and the puck has to move quicker. Zach Desjardins and I were talking about it the other day. I think that one way or another, our power play looks better here because exactly that. You don't have time to fool around with the puck. You got to move it. The guys are on you right away. So plays are made a lot quicker on this ice surface at the OIC. And hopefully that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Like if it can transfer into the game and we get that mentality of moving the puck, be it the power play or just 5-on-5 play, will only benefit us down the road.
And you look at the power play, of course, it's starting to, find some things, whether it's the first or the second unit that can be built off of, and, making those quick decisions, of course, one-touch passes. How does that translate to bigger ice? And do you emphasize more the middle of the ice, maybe with some guys missing, like Brent Gates now here? You get Danny Moynihan back, hopefully, fully ready to go, things like that. And maybe it can help boost the offense a little bit here throughout a whole week, because of course, coming back to when we played Wichita not that long ago, you see a power play or you see a penalty kill over and over, game after game. And sometimes it takes a little bit of creativity, of course, to mix it up as teams make adjustments.
It's easier said than done, but one of the things that led to our demise in the last game that we played these guys is that we definitely, we dominated them in the first period, and we came out with a 1-0 lead. Like, we have to, there's somehow, some way we got to find ourselves a cushion, and be it a 2-goal lead or whatever. But there was no reason we outshot them in the first period 18-3. I don't know that they were out of their zone, rewatching the game, and so we're doing ourselves a disservice not getting on top of teams and getting out to a couple goal lead, where you allow a team, let's say after the first period, to kind of regroup in the locker room, and then they're better, from that point on through the game. But if you get yourself 2-3 goal lead, maybe it's a different game altogether. So there's going to be there's nothing that's going to be surprising to us as far as the way they play. I'm sure vice versa. Like they're ready for us. They know exactly what we bring and what we do. We just have to have a better game than them every night.
Mentioned working on the power play. You got a couple of guys that are newer. Obviously, Vincent Marlowe's played a few games, but not a ton. Then you have Garrett Cecier coming in, and he's a blue liner that you want to add a bit of offensive punch. Did either of those guys get to work on the power play at all? And if so, what was your opinion and thoughts on what they did?
Well, I think Vincent is getting better all the time, and he's on the second unit power play. I got Garrett Cecier on the second unit also with Broussard. And you still got Cockrell and Brooks on the first one. Like, the guys that were hurt or banged up, as of our last game, we've got both Moynihan and Cockrell back in the lineup. McEnany's still out. And so as of right now, we've got one extra forward, one extra defenseman. So working on the power play, one thing about Cecier, he does a good job of getting the puck through from the point. It might not be a bomb, but he gets it there. And then, one of the things that Vincent does very well for a big guy is he finds open space, and he's got a quick release, and he's looked good on the power play the last couple of days in practice. So, he's a guy that I think that I keep saying he's going to get better and better, but you can just see the progression. I think he's getting more relaxed. He knows he's got to know the guys. It's a good situation for him now to kind of take that next step and dominate situations that I think he can. I think we've seen enough out of him. I can now say with confidence that he's a very good player, and he's a good player at this level for sure. And I think he's got some upside to get to the next level, but I think he's got to now take the onus upon himself to be maybe a little bit more assertive and take the confidence that he's gotten from being here the last, I don't know, whatever X amount of games that he's played, and build off of that, and now kind of know that he can contribute and be a good player.
Yeah, and building off of that, getting Cecile, a Reading Royal, another Reading Royal from last year that we'd love to see this year is Garrett Cockrell, and sort of coming into that break after a few games. What me and Zach noticed was, he's really confident as a puck carrier for sure this year. We've even seen him, entering the zone on power plays. Some of his edge work along the blue line's been pretty impressive. Do you think that's something that Garrett Cockrell's really developing well, is just his skating ability with confidence this year? And what can you do as a coach whenever you have a responsible defenseman that can enter the zone? It allows you to be able to create some more havoc for sure with the forwards coming in with him.
Well, Garrett's got that in his game, definitely. I mean, I think he's shown it from day one, really. I mean, it took him a while to get up to speed and basically in a game shape when we brought him in originally. But he is very creative, and he's confident. And that's, it goes to what we've been talking about here. He's a confident player, and for that reason, he has. And he knows the time and place in the game to do it also. He doesn't put himself in jeopardy out on the ice. He always seems to be in the right positioning. He brings that offensive ability, and he's a guy that jumps into the play, makes plays. As you said, he's very good at entries on the power play. He takes what's available to him. He dissects what the defending team's doing and takes what's available to him, what options are available, and he does a very good job at that. It's nothing. I don't believe, Luke, that it's something he's learning to do. It's something that he does do, and it's just in his game.
We're going to turn our attention to San Diego. And here in the last few games, a lot of guys that have been here this season and before really stepping up and contributing. The other night, Ole getting the start. Golod picked up his first AHL point. Hunter Drew scored a goal. And then Kindop and Dosty were playing essentially on the top line up there. And do you think that, maybe say 5-6 years ago, that you would see that many guys having a major impact and having their fingerprints all over an AHL game after spending, a decent amount of time in the ECHL? And you think that just kind of shows the growth and the development both of this league as a true, AA affiliate league, and the confidence that the teams have to throw guys into the fire in high-end situations in the AHL?
Well, I think it depends on the team, quite honestly. And I think San Diego has confidence in these guys to be American League players. Now, end of the day, I don't know that we would have seen a Max Golod. If it was a normal year, we might not have seen a Jack Bedini or Bryce, for that matter, Kindop. And so, those guys probably were penciled in if it was a real season for the American Hockey League. Now, the ability for them to get playing ahead of the American League season started was a great advantage to the San Diego Gulls to have them down here and get them going. I know Max obviously got hurt in Rapid City, but now he's back and fortunately at first we thought that he might need surgery. He might have been out for the season, but he rehabbed. It wasn't nearly as bad as we all thought at first. And I can see how Max Golod can contribute at that level. But then you get a Hunter Drew, you get a Alex Dostie. Like, yeah, all these guys have spent time here and had the ability to play a lot. And I think that's the biggest thing, Zach. When you come here, Devin Sidoroff, even, Brent Gates last year, like they play upwards of 25 minutes tonight at our level. And that only is it's such an advantage for them to then be able to go up and contribute at the next level. And to your point, whether whether San Diego's using us the way that maybe everybody would hope that the ECHL was used, or other teams are doing it the same way. But I think that little by little, it is getting recognized as, it's not necessarily, end of the day, it's a demotion, yet it's more of a development thing where you got, that's where it's sold to the players, where you need to get down there and play and, get your game together. And then once you get back here, you're ready to go. So it's worked this year, obviously, in our situation with San Diego, and hopefully it continues up where, whether it be this year or next year down the road, that they keep the confidence in sending players here to get that edge into their game to be able to step right in and line up at the American League level.
And you sort of look at the different tiers, of course, with players, their ability to move up and contribute, at each level. A lot of it is just the mental speed of the game. And as a player, you certainly know this in moving up, playing in different leagues, sort of moving from the ECHL to the AHL. Do you feel like that gap as far as the quickness and the speed of the game is narrowing, of course, with so much talent at the ECHL level now? And, of course, we all know that big jump is the AHL to the NHL speed mentally and physically. And, how do you prepare a player for that, going up to the AHL level? And, is it just something that each player just has to prepare on their own for?
Well, as you climb the ladder, you realize real quick. And from my experience, I actually found it easier to play at the NHL level than the American League level. Passes were crisper, on your tape. Guys were where they were supposed to be. Guys did their own job. As you go down levels, it tends to be, call it scramblier hockey, not as controlled. But the American League level from our level, draw the comparison to my situation going from the American League to the NHL. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, it's an easier game to play, because the skill set, the hockey sense is that much better. And so you go there, you do what you're supposed to do, and you'll have success. And it's probably a step up in pace. Physicality, I wouldn't say. I would say probably our league's probably the most physical out of the three. And but in general, I always found it, I always told myself, just do what I'm supposed to do and do it to my best ability, and you should be okay.
Looking ahead now to this week, a busy week, playing 4 games starting tomorrow against Wichita, and against a very good Wichita team. And right from the hop, with the team having a bit of a break here, what is it that you want to see directly out of the gate from your team? And what would, you consider maybe a successful first period here on Wednesday when you go into the room after 20 minutes?
I think that we need to come out of the gate fast. I mean, we can't wait. We have to have a good first period. We got to have a quick first period. I would like to think that we're going to come out ablazing, really. You know what I mean? Like it's there doesn't seem to be any other option. I don't see how it can't go that way. And if it doesn't, that's disappointing. So that's the responsibility of the players. I mean, we've done all that we can to prepare for this 4-game set against Wichita. And I'm not saying that I'm washing my hands of it, but now it lies in their court. I mean, it's time to go to work and get the job done.
And you look at the 4 Week set, is there sort of something that you come into the week expecting out of your netminders? Maybe is there already a planned, structure of who gets the starts? And we know, of course, you always want to play the hot goaltender. And, are you really going to have, very much of a short leash as far as longevity for a netminder this week, considering a lot of rest was able to kind of get caught up on here with the week off?
Roman's going to go tomorrow night. I don't have a plan, quite honestly, in my head as far as how we're going to rotate them. But there's a lot of games in a short period of time. I mean, you're getting off Sunday afternoon, and then we're back at it on Wednesday. So it's a lot of games. There's 6 games and I don't know what, 9 nights, 10 nights. So there's going to be plenty of time for both goaltenders to get their ice. And the one thing that you can't bank on is that the time off that we've had, yeah, it recharges the batteries, but batteries can deplete real quick too. And so, there's got to be a point where I've got to look at it realistically, and we don't want to override one goaltender over the other. Now, as you said, if one guy gets hot and we're winning games and he's outstanding, you got to go with the hot goalie. So, just with Roman going tomorrow night, I would just say, it's going to be a day-to-day decision on which way we're going to go with it.
Playing the same team so much here this week, is there anything in particular? Obviously, you guys are going out there to play your game, but something that Wichita does well or has done in the last couple of games that you've seen them that got to be wary of, whether it be type of entry, the breakout, or maybe what they're doing with the penalty kill of the power play.
I think the power play. I don't know that many teams are doing anything different than, I guess, even what we're doing. It's the structure is very similar. And then the one thing that Wichita does very well is they transition well. They come out of their zone well. They activate their backside defensemen quite a bit. Even the goal that they won the game on, the last last game that we played, like, I had to watch it a couple times. That was a defenseman that scored.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I had no idea it was Stewart until I saw the game sheet, and then I went back and watched it. And I was like how the heck did he get up there? And it was a defensive zone faceoff where they basically cleared it and essentially iced it, and he beat down the icing, and that was the backside defenseman. So they're very active. Their defensemen are very active, especially the backside defenseman, meaning the defenseman furthest away from the play tends to jump up into the play quite a bit, and that provides them a very good transition game, and they do it very well. So we have to be aware of that.
Well, I think that's about all we've got for you, unless there's anything to add. We'll catch back up with you tomorrow for the pregame.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.